I sense it. It's starting. There is no loud noise, no gunshot or bell or siren. Over time, your body and internal alarm clock just naturally adjust, knowing when it will begin. You learn the pattern, and a part of your subconscious, which is, ironically, more alert and awake to danger than you yourself are, takes over. It's the same way with many things. You notice small details that you wouldn't have picked up on before. All of your senses come alive in a way they never have before, and it's terrifying because you know that it still might not be enough. I get up, get ready via the usual routine. I've done this so many times that it's like second nature. It's so easy by now that it happens in auto mode, and my mind races through a million other thoughts while the rest of me is busy. I think back on the past few months. It's been almost half a year since that first encounter in the park. The girls from that day had long since vanished. We parted ways at the gates of a hospital, and I made my way back to what I hoped was left of home. To this day, it's still not known what caused the attacks. We don't know what these things are, and by we, I mean, of course, what few humans are still around these parts. Seems the first question you ask a person when you see them is, do you know what's been going on? I sure as hell have no idea. People don't get eaten or horribly tortured, just turn into mindless monsters themselves. As far as I've been able to tell, there is no way of knowing what kind of creature a person will turn into. None of them are traditional monsters, the kind of crap people used to write about. Vampires, zombies, the boogeyman, ghouls, werewolves, undead atrocities, ghosts. They have no real names or definite species. The people they turn don't die. No one gets bit in the neck. There is no spectacle. They just shift and change until they are something different and difficult to describe. The rarest so far have been the blue ones with their small eyes. The most common are the fleshy orange ones. I hate the green ones most. Not only can they see, but they move fast. Really fast. Humans have been hiding, not even in their own homes, but in whatever place they could find that's not infested with the things. I've met passers-by who were looking for any place they could settle down that's empty. I was one of the lucky ones, because I came home to an empty house. Empty of monsters, empty of infection, empty of any kind of resident, just like before. I was living alone, occasionally visiting friends, here and there going on a date. Nothing spectacular. No wild parties or huge family gatherings. No one has asked specifically to stay with me. People are afraid that what little they have will get stolen. They're afraid that they'll be hurt or killed or taken advantage of. Terrible things have been happening, aside from the monster showing up. People have turned into savages, doing not only whatever they deem necessary to survive, but whatever they can that's able to bring them the least bit of joy and entertainment. Murder, torture, all sorts of inhumane treatment. If you try to step in to save another human from going through such an ordeal, they just yell at you to stay away, terrified that something even worse will happen if another person gets involved. For the most part, things are peaceful, so long as you don't leave your house, or whoever's house you're technically in. People grow plants for food, occasionally ransack nearby shops for supplies. All the canned goods and guns were gone long ago. People learn to rely on themselves really quickly. Personally, I went straight for anything with a silencer. The gun isn't going to help you if it only attracts more of the monsters, no matter how many it kills. The shells aren't going to last forever. The stores are almost empty already, and it's not like anything more is being produced. There may be some factory somewhere with large storage, but getting there will take up most or all ammo anyone currently has. Should have done that in the beginning. It's too late now. The biggest problem is usually water, but people find ways to manage. There is no electricity, And even when there was no signal anywhere. People panicked to try and call loved ones, reach out to the police, anyone who might be able to help, all to no avail. I tried to contact what few people there were for me to contact, but nothing worked. There were no broadcasts, no newspapers, no headlines. Everyone is just completely in the dark and left to speculate on what really happened, on what is still happening. All of this turns around in my mind as I'm busy, and before I know it, I'm done with what little needs to be done. Watering the plants, eating in silence, washing as well as I can under the circumstances, drawing the curtains and closing the windows so the creatures forget to look in here. They don't look for people during the day, only when the sun starts setting. They don't bother trying unless they can see someone moving around inside or hear a noise of some sort. So I lay in silence during the long, dark nights. I used to listen to audiobooks to help me sleep, to feel less alone. I can't do that now. So far, nothing attracts them during the day, but even if there was any charge left on any of my devices, I would not have taken the chance. I think the only thing that's kept me sane all this time has been painting. I spend the days painting in the sunlight, and the nights trying to sleep. After the simple gardening and doing what little cleaning can be done under the circumstances, all I do is paint. I sleep with a gun at my side, listening to the occasional grumbling and odd, indescribable noises outside. There's always a bar or two of soap in my pockets, just in case. Everyone always talks about these things, about how to survive and kill monsters or zombies, how crazy the world is. In these stories, it's easy to imagine the madness and the mayhem, but what nobody talks about is how lonely it is. I haven't so much as seen another human being in weeks, let alone talked to one. And don't get me started on the last time I had a hug or even shook hands with another person. There's no one here. There is nothing. Even surrounded by these creatures, I just feel alone. Before the creatures appeared, things have been quiet in my life for some time. I've been isolating for a long time, shutting people out after a painful breakup had occurred. We were together for years, and throughout that time I had lost what little confidence I had to begin with, slowly but surely. By the time it was all over and I scraped together the courage to leave, I was a husk. I had just begun to reconnect with people and to reach out to some old friends. That day in the park, I was off for a stroll with a prospective partner. I wouldn't say I was in love, but we seemed to have a lot in common. We wanted the same things out of a relationship. I thought about introducing her to friends, seeing what they thought about her and the idea of us being together. The day was going well. She was waiting for me outside the bathroom, and as I was running out with the girl grabbing onto my arm, I didn't see her anywhere. I did, however, recall later in horror that I had recognized those small, black eyes as having the same intangible emotion in them that I had encountered from my date. A sort of mixture of sadness and tranquility that I could not understand. When I first saw those eyes, I thought, I'd like to see what she looks like when she's really happy. The thought of growing old together, buying a house to live in, falling asleep in someone's arms and waking up next to the same person, all of those romantic ideas are long gone, replaced by a longing and pining for a world that may never be restored. I know that other people are suffering as well. Who wouldn't? We're all essentially locked in solitary confinement, close enough to shout at each other, but unable to communicate. Every now and then, I see someone leap aimlessly out into the daylight and walk right in front of the monsters, the same way that someone might walk in front of a moving car or a train on purpose. But it's not so much a form of suicide as it is a desperate desire to be part of something, anything, to not be alone. They would rather be mindless than feel that feeling of emptiness and abandonment, that feeling when you were small and crying and no one came for you. If it happened only once, it's a feeling you never forget. It's a fear you never forget. We're all here now, all of us like children, with no big, strong adults to give us any answers. No one will come. That feeling that introverts feel where it is as though you are so alone and so far removed from the rest of the world that no one could or would ever find you, or even know to come looking for you, because nobody knows you exist, is now felt by everyone. Everyone knows that same pain, that same fear. It's hilarious. Now that we're unable to so much as whisper to each other, we understand one another better than we ever have. There isn't anywhere that we can go that's better. There isn't any sort of place to camp to get a foothold, or heading to a spot that's safer. There have been a few brave souls who set out to try and find a better place, to see if there's anywhere in the world where none of these monsters reside. None of them have returned. It's been months. We're all stuck here, trapped in our own homes, unable and unwilling to leave. We won't run. Thank you for listening and watching. All links and references are in the description below.